Freedom is not free. It must be fought for. Just like how our founding fathers declared freedom from Great Britain, Epoch TV is declaring freedom from government and corporate control. Subscribe to the Epoch Times to get freedom of information that you deserve. We have a very special offer right now for Independence Day, only 25 cents a week for 1 full year. That's right, only 1 quarter a week. And you get so much value in return. Unlimited access to great shows, movies, documentaries, all on Epoch TV, as well as unlimited access to Epoch News and Epoch Health. This special offer is only until July 9th, so get it now. The link is in the description below the video. Don't miss out. Hey, good morning, everyone. I want to talk to you all about MKUltra, which was the CIA literal mind control program that they had. It was doing human experiments on allegedly children, prisoners, psychiatric patients, and the like. And something interesting happened, which is that RFK Jr. actually tweeted out a story on it. I was surprised to see that because even though it's true, even though MKUltra is 100% real, in fact, the CIA has documents on it, which are public, and it's known based on actual record that they destroyed many documents. It is a fact. It did, in fact, take place. And again, it shouldn't be disputed at all. The issue, though, is that it's often attributed with conspiracy despite all that, mainly because a lot of information on it was destroyed, and there's a lot of speculation. That being said, there are actually trials right now taking place on it. In fact, I've covered one of the trials taking place in Canada previously. And, of course, in that case, you had the U.S. government and the Canadian government, which was involved as well, trying to get immunity on the case. They're trying to make it so they cannot be sued for their involvement in it. And so I found it very interesting that RFK Jr., not J, different. RFK Jr. actually tweeted out a link. Again, presidential candidate, maybe running against Biden or maybe Gavin Newsom. We'll have to see if that ever happens. But let me show you what he said. RFK Jr. said, new documents show that the CIA's MKUltra program targeted Indigenous and Black children in medical torture experiments. Horrific. And what RFK Jr. is doing here is he's been very big on the idea of medical tyranny. He's been very big on the idea of the medical industrial complex, as we've come to call it. The system of fake science or politicized science or science for profit mixed together with the big pharmaceutical companies, which interestingly Democrats used to be more against and Republicans used to be more for. That, of course, changed mainly under Obama because Obama created different laws that made it more easy to an extent for some of the pharmaceutical companies to get behind the Democrats based on just some of his policies. That being said, of course, it also ties into that, which is lobbying on behalf of the pharmaceutical industries to government officials who then clear the way for programs that benefit the entire system. Of course, the MKUltra programs were different. These were CIA or government-run medical experimentations that did really horrific things. Now, let me show you the article he points to, and we'll go over what the claims are in this, and I'll give my take on it. It's from a website called Truth Out, which I've never read before personally. But it says, new docs link CIA to medical torture of Indigenous children and Black prisoners. And it looks like the new documents they're talking about are contained in a new book that just came out, which is where they get the documents from. But it says the documented, I think they may say, record of mind control experiments conducted by the United States and other governments, not just the U.S., during the Cold War is just the tip of the iceberg, and our collective ignorance is by design. In early 1973, as the fallout from the Watergate scandal exposed the need for greater congressional oversight of U.S. intelligence agencies, the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, ordered the destruction of all documents related to MKUltra. Yeah, what a way to restore public trust right after Watergate. By the way, I believe Nixon was set up personally. I think they trumped him personally. just reading the history on it, my personal take. But anyways, back to this. It says, launched in the wake of the Nuremberg trials, which exposed the extent of Nazi atrocities carried out in the name of science, MKUltra involved a range of grotesque experiments on unwitting test subjects within and beyond U.S. borders. Newly revealed evidence exposes previously hidden links between MKUltra experiments on Indigenous children in Canada and imprisoned black people in the U.S. Briefly on this, by the way, I'm sure some of you are probably aware that after World War II, the United States brought in a lot of Nazi scientists, including people who became involved in our nuclear weapons programs and other things. And interestingly, a lot of our medical information, including on different information on the human body and things harmful to humans, a lot of it came from Nazi human experimentation. There was also really weird stuff that took place around this time, by the way, where you had, and later actually, where you had different military officers pulling from like actual like dark occult type stuff. It sounds crazy, but it's real. And trying to use these for things like mind control programs. And they were doing things like psychic experiments and all kinds of wild stuff. Yeah, EV, Operation Paperclip. You know the name. Operation Paperclip, where they brought the Nazi scientists over. The history is really wild. It's really bizarre history. If you read into it, like you would, it's the kind of stuff you could easily write off as being fake. But the Cold War was not a normal war. It was a very bizarre war. And if you come to my house, I have a stack of Cold War books, like probably up to about here, collections of KGB documents and stuff like that. It's fascinating history, by the way. But let's delve deeper into this. It says on April 20th, 2023, a group of Indigenous women known as the Mohawk Mothers, I'm not going to even try to pronounce their Indian name, achieved a milestone in their ongoing lawsuit against several entities, including McGill University, the Canadian government, and the Royal Victoria Hospital in Quebec. Remember the name McGill University because they're being wrapped up with this whole MKUltra issue, right? And as we'll discuss, they have discovered mass unmarked graves of children, interestingly. It's at this hospital. Now, it says the parties reached an agreement whereby archaeologists and cultural monitors would begin the process of searching for unmarked graves, which the Mohawk Mothers believed are buried on the grounds of the hospital. The Mohawk Mothers are a group of Indigenous women who believe that they're trying to uncover the history of persecution of the Mohawk tribe in Canada in particular. It says over the preceding 2 years, approximately 1,300 unmarked graves, most of them containing the remains of Indigenous children, have been discovered on the grounds of 5 of Canada's former residential schools. I won't read this whole article because it's very long, but I'll give my take on it. It says, in October of 2021, new evidence surfaced linking disappeared Indigenous children to MKUltra experiments conducted by CIA-sponsored researchers. Now, briefly on this, I want to be clear. Now, you could easily think 1,300 unmarked graves was the CIA killing Indigenous children. What's not clearly stated here, it does mention it in passing, but it's not really fleshed out well enough, I think, is that those 1,300 unmarked graves came because they had Indigenous. Well, they do mention this in the article, but they of course had programs to kill the Indian, save the man, as I think they called it in the U.S., where they were taking Indian children from their parents and they were raising them in these schools, a lot of times Catholic schools, because they were trying to change their religion. And what you had happen was that many of them, of course, were abused. Some of them died. And over the course of the 20th century, you did have these things. The 1,300 unmarked graves have to do with the entire history of that throughout the 20th century. What they're alleging here, though, is that some of those, they're suggesting, or at least it's unclear whether the unmarked graves are tied to it, but the schools with the Indigenous children, they're claiming, based on these documents, were in fact tied to the MKUltra program. Of course, tied both to the CIA and to the Canadian government in this particular case. Further, it states the CIA, along with the U.S. and Canadian military and powerful U.S. charitable foundations, and directly implicated in this ordeal. According to John Mark's 1991 book, The Search for the Manchurian Candidate, and Stephen Kinzer's 2019 book, Prisoner in Chief, in 1977, in response to a Freedom of Information Act request, CIA archivists uncovered a previously hidden box of MKUltra financial records revealing, among other things, that the Memorial Institute was home to MKUltra Subproject 68. Wild history, folks. Now, take it for what you will. A lot of this stuff is documented. In fact, I will show you an archive article from 1977 from the New York Times and MKUltra. Before we go into that, though, let's jump over to Epoch TV, where we can talk about things without YouTube censoring us. I don't care that much these days. They've already censored this show, which is why you should join us on Epoch TV, and you can do it now for 25 cents. 1 quarter. How many of you have quarters laying around? It's a quarter a week, and you get access to Crossroads, a live Q&A, documentaries, movies, all of our other shows. So come join us on Epoch TV, 25 cents a week for an entire year. And this only goes until July 9th. This is a special limited time offer for Independence Day. So celebrate your independence and break free from the shackles of censored news outlets and come join us on Epoch TV. And I will see you on Epoch TV for the rest of the episode, where I will discuss the 1977 New York Times article on MKUltra and other things. So join us now. Let's jump over. And folks, thank you for being here. Let me center myself better. All right, there we go. Now, let me show you an article. This is an archive. It's from